your dreams trying to tell you something? Author M.B. Mosley teaches you how to decode your dreams and take hold of the manifestations that lay in wait for you in the waking realm. Now, broadcasting all over the world, it's the Dream Interpretation Podcast.
Hello there, Dream Zone Interpretation Tribe. You are now tuning into the Spiritual Sweet Spot Saturdays. Say that fast. I dare you, dare you, dare you. All right, guys, I'm so excited to introduce this session. It was impressed upon my heart because I felt that we are dealing with all things spiritual dream realm. So why not add little days like this? I don't know why the days have to be little, but why not add days like Saturday just to kind of get that refresher that will touch the center of our spirit. And I'm also excited to lead these sessions on Saturdays from a manuscript that I have had forever. You heard right, a manuscript. That's how much I love you guys. So. Hi. Zip Tribe, zip baby, zip, hashtag Dream Zone Interpretation Podcast, and you are tuned in to the right day, right time, right podcast. I am so excited that you all are able to join us here on this Saturday Now message. I am your host, author, and sister friend, M.B. Mosley, and before we get started, how are you doing? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Well, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I get excited every time I come right here to talk to you all. So we decided to add you got it, Spiritual Sweet Spot Saturdays session. I think it goes hand in hand with the Dream Zone Interpretation Podcast. Dream Zone Interpretation Podcast, we're discussing everything dream, spiritual realm. So why not also talk about those things that can quench our souls, dry out our thirst, right? That's just a little bit too extra. So guys, to jump this session of this a now message, and as you heard at the top of this podcast there, these messages will come from a manuscript, and it is a book of life that I wrote in about 2010, and it's in a manuscript form, right? So we're going to pluck out some stuff from there and talk about stuff from that manuscript, and the life part of it is acronymed. It has been acronymed, trademarked, just kidding, but it's acronymed life, that is living in faith every day. And I wanted to start off by telling you where this acronym came from. Yes, it came from me, but how, just saying, humbly, but how this acronym came about. And I felt like, okay, you know what? It'll also be fair if I do, give a little backstory about myself, right? And so, I mean, you will hear some things unfold as we get to know each other, because that's how introverts are. I'm just saying. We got to fill it out a little bit, get warm a little bit, and just sauce it out. Okay. So before we get started, guys, let's take in a deep breath. Let's take out a deep breath. I just wanted to do that for myself because I'm about to get in here and start telling all the business. Okay, just teasing. Telling some of my business. But guys, I feel like it's fair that you kind of get to know what's going on, right? Okay, so where did life, the acronym LIFE, come from? So living in faith every day was an acronym that I wrote on a mug. At the end of the class, we got these cups where we could paint a positive note on these cups, these little mugs, ceramic mugs, and I put LIFE, L.F.F.E, and then I put living in faith every day. And that has been my mantra since then. Was I perfect? Life is a journey. Life is a journey. Life is meant to be taken in bite size, day by day. So what is this cup I'm talking about? So a little bit about myself. You heard it here first, just teasing. It's in my books. But let me see. It's weird because I don't really ever talk about myself. So give me a second to bring this out. So about 2006 or 7, I lost track because I wasn't successful. I enlisted myself in a rehab. I was struggling with alcoholism, but at that time, of course, like any addict at that time, I wasn't in full denial. So okay, so I feel like it's fair. I should just give writers have a problem with backstories, guys. I gotta give you guys a backstory. Like I cannot just dive into it. Okay, backstory. I was drowning. I was drowning in alcohol, and I didn't know it was a problem. I drank every day, every day. I was drinking like a 6 pack of beers plus some more alcohol every day. I did not know it was a problem, because the transition came from, and it's not an excuse, I'm just giving you some more backstory. Transition came from where I hung around my friends and we were going to school. This was after high school, of course. And I remember when I was going to my program, my friends were going to their programs there. She was at the University of Riverside back in SoCal, shout out. And then I was going to my school, and all we ever did was just like hang out after that. We felt like we are just working hard. So we drank and drank all the time. But we drank like almost every day. Then I relocated to the Midwest, St. Louis, by myself, and to start on a new journey. I was like 22, and so that habit stuck with me. That's all I knew was to drink, and I drank every day. I continued the habit. Didn't party because I was out in a new place. Partied, on the weekends, but drank every day. Picked it up, and so this is really, so I want to say 2006, 2007 lightly, or it could have been 2005, guys. I have no recollection exactly. I just know, no, it couldn't have been 2005 because I came to St. Louis in 2000 at the end of 2004. So probably 2007, guys, because I was, I didn't succeed. Listen to the story, full story. And so, what brought the realization of my issue, my drinking at that time, was I used to just watch TV, eat, drink, eat by myself, drink myself to sleep. I mean, I would stay up till like 12 or 1 a.m. just drinking myself to sleep, watching TV. And this was right when the intervention show came out. Yes, guys, the intervention show came out. So I used to watch those episodes like they were going out of style. And so I started to question myself as well. You're watching this and you're watching people, and I'm like, I'd never known that it was an issue. So I said, you know what? Do I have an issue? You know what I mean? Because I drank 6 packs plus a day. I didn't think it was a problem. I was a functioning alcoholic. I got up, went to work, did every day-to-day activity, right? So, that seed stuck in my head of, am I an alcoholic or do I have a problem? But at that time I just said, okay, whatever. And I continued on about my business. It was my coping mechanism. It's not an excuse, guys. I'm giving you backstory. No excuses here. And so I continued. That seed was stuck in the back of my head. And the more I watched the intervention, I was like, you know what? I don't think I have a problem. So you know what? You know how it is here in Denai. I don't think I have a problem. Let me just call one of these places. It was really a small, gradual step. It was not an epiphany and voila, it all just happened, right? So I started off by looking, yes, the yellow pages back in the day, I believe. I don't remember. I just remember, or I don't know if it was Google. I just remember looking. I don't remember. But I remember looking for a place, like for substance abuse or something like that. And I found like a 800 number, something like that. And so I called them because in my mind I was like, I don't have a problem. So I called them, and And it was like a pre-screen, I guess, the person on the phone, and they ask where you're located, and I guess they plug you in with the place that's closer to you, gave them the information. And then once I gave them the information, it rang to another number, and the next person, I remember this part, asked me again the pre-screen questions, and gave them to her. And then I remember the person saying, can I place you on a hold? We need to get a counselor on the phone with you. And I'm just thinking it's standard procedure. They placed me on a hold. The lady came on the phone, and I appreciate her today. She was really nice. She wasn't rude about it, but she was just matter of fact about it. And she said, because then they ask, how many times do you drink? What are you drinking? And I told them, throughout the whole pre-screening process. And then the lady that was now on the phone, was concerned, and she said, we need to get you in as soon as possible. And I thought to myself, what is she talking about? I'm good. Because you see yourself functioning, going to work, doing what you're supposed to do. And so what is this lady talking about? And so I said, okay. And she said, when can you get here? We need you in here as soon as possible. I'm trying to stall. So I just throw out a date. And then she told me, she said but before you come to see us, we're going to ask that you go see your doctor. Do you have a doctor? Yes, I do. We ask that you go see your doctor, see if they're able to prescribe medication for you, because the amounts that you're consuming right now can put your body into shock, or, worst case scenario, death. And she didn't put it like that. I'm putting it like this, but pretty much like organ shutdown, right? And of course, that's how long I've been drinking. That's how long I've been engaged in the behavior. They did their part. So now it was weird enough. I wasn't like scared. So I said, okay. And so given that information, I took my time again, procrastinated, drank myself to sleep. And then I said, let me go see about seeing the doctor. I made the appointment with the doctor, and she was an angel. I went to see her. I'll never forget her. And she said to me, her father, I gave her the story that I'm trying to check myself into what they call outpatient rehab. And so I've spoken to the people there, and they said that I need to come see you first, because they believe the levels of alcohol that I was consuming was going to be could possibly put me in harm's way if I just quit cold turkey and start rehab. So she said that she'd had experience. She was a child of a father who was an alcoholic. So she was really awesome. She said she didn't recommend the medication for me. I forgot what the stipulation was. And she felt confident that I would be able to go on with my treatment. And so after that, she gave me her little note, did her part, and then I procrastinated some more, guys. It's called addiction. It's pulling at you. It's tugging at you. And procrastinated. What are these people talking about? I don't have a problem. I was just trying to call to get what I wanted was like confirmation, like, no, you're fine. That's what people do. But nope. So, and then the more I watched intervention, the more I drank, then I got my patootie over there and started rehab, outpatient, the paperwork. And what was weird was there was also a longing within me internally, just because I got tired. It started becoming this repetitive thing. I drink, I eat, I sleep, I drink, I eat, I sleep, I drink, I eat, I sleep. And so it was like, I wanted a new start, but at the same time, I was a little bit in denial, So let me go check myself into this outpatient rehab. Awesome outpatient rehab, 6 to 8 weeks, I want to say. Did the whole thing. And after that, they tell you, not to start new relationships, go to your AA meetings, and so forth and so forth. And disclaimer, any and everyone, not everyone, but anyone should say that. Anyone that is currently experiencing sobriety, following the steps, or in rehab programs. Please follow everything that you're being told to follow by the professionals. My testimony today and my experiences are solely my experiences. Would I ever encourage or tell someone to do what I did? Never, because everyone's life is different. So, disclaimer, you know me, disclaimer queen is in the house. So I finished the program. I'm proud. And of course, graduation is where that mug, we all get these, mugs, and we have to put some positive message on there, and that's where life was born, living in faith every day. And so I felt very optimistic. I was happy. I felt new. I felt new, but it felt weird because I started drinking when I want to say not even 18, 19. And at that time I was 22. Yeah. And so, it was different because for the first time in my life, I had spent days without consuming alcohol. And so now looking back in hindsight now, looking back as I say this is, once you get those tools, it's important to gravitate with those tools because they did equip me with tools, the AA book. I try to go to some AA meetings. Once again, you all, this is my testimony. If you are a person going through sobriety and going through professionals, do exactly what the professionals are telling you. I'm solely just giving you a testimony from my experience. And so they equipped me with that. I went to a few AA meetings. You all, addiction is a very, very tough thing. And I don't say that to gain empathy, sympathy, but I just want to highlight that because you're fighting for survival. You're fighting this thing that's pulling you back or pulling you in. And at that time, I wasn't aware of it. So when I left, and what I'm saying now is to prep you up for what I'm about to say next, because then when I started going, I didn't understand more. I will unfold slowly and not jump ahead. But at that time, I didn't understand a lot, I should say, simply of the addictive mind, or what addiction does, because it creates excuses, it lies, it manipulates, and all this other stuff. So when I started going to these AA meetings, I manipulated myself. Yes, I did. I was like, and that's the worst thing you could do, is live in the future when you're living right now. It's okay to dream, write on your vision boards and so forth. But what I mean is, in my addictive mind, I started to see myself in the future, and I was like, I don't want to be married with children and having to stop in my mind. This is what I was telling myself in my mind, and have to stop cooking and rush over to a meeting. And then what am I going to tell my children? Like I was going to have children, right? I mean, these are things that the mind games that the mind plays is just surreal. And I was not equipped at that time. They had equipped me. It's just me. I wasn't fulfilling my end in creating more knowledge or seeking more knowledge for myself to understanding this behavior and this disease. And so, cut a long story short, I stopped going to the meetings. I didn't get a sponsor, introvert problem. But at the same time, even if you're an introvert, if this is what you've been told to do, please do what you have been told to do. Because I feel bad. I don't want anyone to say, well, I heard her say this. So no. I'm just giving you my experiences. But if you are under doctor supervision, professional supervision, you're doing your steps, you're on your journey to sobriety, please do not stop. So the addictive mind made all these excuses. I never got a sponsor, and I stopped going to these meetings. And then fast forward, I got in a relationship I was not supposed to have gotten into. It was still too early into the addiction, because understand this, if you're an addict and you think that, I'm not knocking relationships that are out here that are successful, and addicts are like with people that engage in different behaviors, and it doesn't bother that addict. I want to talk right now just solely based on my experiences. And so I got into this relationship when I was not supposed to, and what I've come to find out, even with a best friend of so many years, is that when people don't understand, which I barely understood the addiction, the disease, I barely understood it. So I'm not talking ill of people. I could understand why, but even people around you will not understand the enormity, if that's a word. New word. They would not understand how big this thing is, because even at a point when I talked to my best friend about it, she said, "No, you just like to drink." And in my mind, I was like, no, because she's the type that could have a glass of wine and stop and just go on about her business. But I was not. And so I was not. We're going to drink everything that you have in your cabinet. So don't, at that time, do not, that memory at that time, you did not want to invite her to your party or anything like that. And if you did, she probably had to have brought her own alcohol, which would have ran out, and then she'd have wanted everybody else's. But anyways, I digress. So, so people around are not going to always understand that part of the journey. That's why understanding in hindsight, in a sober mind, that you need to surround yourself with people that are engaging in sobriety and or are sober. And so at that time when I got in the relationship, I thought that's the thing, that addictive mind thinks it's smart, but it's not, because it thinks it's outsmarting and outdoing, and you're trying to figure things out. And so even the guy that I was talking to at that time, I thought I did a pre-screen of my own. Do you drink? They said, no, I'm not a drinker. Probably have champagne at New Year's. I thought, okay, that's fine, because then they're not a drinker. It's not around me. Cut a long story short, we got into a committed relationship. It was like July. And this dude was like, well, let's go get my favorite beverage at that time, beer. I know you all can't picture me to be a beer girl, but I really was. I was chugging them beers back to back. And so I thought, okay, well, at that time I'd been sober for some time. I said, okay, months, not time like that, but some months. I said, I've been sober for some months. I just need to watch what I drink. So we went, did the thing, and I thought, it's 4th of July. It's a celebration. And remember, you're talking to somebody that had every day was a celebration. So we cannot miss 4th of July. So that unraveled the monster of monsters with my addiction. That relapse took me on a spiral. My mind you try to crook itself around talking about, oh, we could just ration out what we drink and we got this. No. I picked off not even right where I left, because I was unsatisfied. Like when I drank, I was like, I'm not buzzing yet. It was back twofold, threefold. The amounts that I did before sobriety, they were back and caked on. Worse. 3 times the amounts. So now at this point in time, I'm feeling really disgusted about myself, and I feel like such a loser. Of course, that relationship didn't last. You bring bad toxic patterns to a relationship, it's not going to be healthy. Chances are it's probably not going to last. And so that one didn't last. And because I had just come back to that first love of mine at that time, and I was worse. It was worse. And I could not pull away from it. I could not part from it. And as a beer drinker before rehab and all that other stuff, when I came back feeling so ashamed, I said, you know what? How about I start mixing with like a little bit of hard liquor, that Smirnoff Ice, you get that, and then you get the straight vodka. I was never a liquor drinker. And so my mind's trying to trick itself, because if you drink a 6-pack plus more, you're just an alcoholic, and that's what they told me. So let me start improvising, and I do this. But what I was doing was drinking more alcoholic contents than I was doing before. Oh, it took me for a spiral. Almost lost my life 2 times. These are events that I'm not proud of. I'm just sharing a little bit about my story and my journey here. And of course, toxic behaviors, patterns will sometimes, especially like substance abuse, will most times than least lead to legal issues, which came knocking at my door. And it was the scariest of things that have that happened throughout that addiction, trying to fight for my life. It was tough. It was tough. It was tough. I am. It's a sad part. It's a sad part. Wound up lasting for 9 years. Wound up lasting for 9 years. I fought tooth and nail. Things I've never been proud of were done. And so that's where life came from, living in faith every day. Even though I relapsed from that, I could tell you that the fight was on. To make this story a little bit joyous from somber, I know I missed out a big chunk on some of the legal troubles that come with it. And including the things that twice I almost lost my life. I do thank the divine for always being there for me. However, so I then wound up, I'm giving you my experiences. Everyone's different. And this is not a judgy podcast. You do what makes you happy. At the end of it all, I've always said, I think one of the best remedies is to find something you love passionately that's positive, whether it's a group that makes flowers, whether it's a group that bakes cakes for the homeless, I don't know, whether it's a group that feeds the homeless, something that you want to gravitate that's positive. For me at that time, it was church. I found church. She did. And so I started just immersing myself with the church people. It was a positive atmosphere. They always needed help. So I made sure I was busy. And at that time, just because I found this positive space doesn't mean I was like, oh, quit overnight. No. That's when that pull came strong and strong. I'm fighting for my life. I want to quit, but I'm drinking, I'm crying. And I just smoke cigarettes with that alcohol only. It's like I couldn't stand the smell of cigarette smell any other time, but only when I drank I had to. So here I am in my basement crying like a little kid, but drinking and smoking a cigarette because I want to quit so bad. I hate my life so much. What happened? And it was right before a couple years before my 30th. And this is what I really want to highlight. I want to highlight to you, sorry for the somber story, but I want to highlight to you the power of visualization and manifestation. The power. I sat in that basement, sat on those basement stairs because like I said, I don't like the smell of cigarette smoke. It's weird. But at that time when I drank, I smoked. So I'd go to the basement. I want my house smelling like cigarette smoke. So when I sat down on those stairs and binge drank myself to tears with a cigarette hanging out my fingers, at the tips of my fingers, in tears and crying, I used to promise myself through tears. That I'm not going to make it to 30 and be an alcoholic. That's what I used to tell myself. And I used to tell myself that, sorry, I didn't anticipate crying. I'm so sorry, guys. But I used to tell myself while I drank miserably that I said, I will never be an alcoholic. I'm not getting in my 30s being an alcoholic. I used to sit on those stairs because this thing had taken a hold of me for the worst. And I was so scared to die. And when I sat on those stairs, it had gotten a hold of me for the worst, where I was off on the weekend. So this is what I would do. On Fridays, I would go stop at a liquor discount outlet. And literally, I would leave there with quantities of alcohol, like I was throwing a party of 100 people, because I would come home Friday night and binge drink. I binge drank throughout the week, but the weekends I wouldn't even go anywhere. And so it was just so dark. The energy was just so dark. And so I used to tell myself there too, I'm going to take walks in the park when I beat this thing. And I used to see in my mind me taking a walk in one of the beautiful parks out here with the lake. I'm going to take walks. I'm going to take walks. That's all I wanted to do was take a walk. Just take a walk. And in the park during the day. And that's all I wanted to do. And so I used to say, you're not going to be an alcoholic after 30. We're not taking this into our 30s if we live to see our 30s. And that was so scary for me. And I understand I should probably be fair and also explain for those listening in that don't understand maybe addiction or don't or never had anyone around them that has an addictive behavior or is an addict. I shouldn't say addictive behavior, but I should say is an addict. Because the preconceived notion with most is, well, you should just stop. Why don't you just quit? Switch it off like a light switch. No. There is something I could tell you personally that's, I don't know, in here that, like, when I drove home, I would tell you that during the weekdays, I would park outside the liquor store for hours. I promise you this, crying. I didn't want anything in there, but I had to have it. I was crying because I was sitting there knowing that I don't want to go home without anything. And I was crying because I was fighting this thing that I know that I shouldn't be doing. Literally, I would sit in my car looking at the liquor store 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. And then I'd get out and then go get what I needed, just go home and sit there and just go to town. And then just miserable. I didn't want to do it anymore, but it was drawing me to do it. It's hard to explain. And I understand people that have never experienced it or that are not, or never seen a person that's an addict or even been around those measures. The logical thing is just stop. There is no just stop. I promise you, if there was, I would have been probably one of the first to just stop. Oh, I wanted to stop so bad, but I couldn't, and I still bite. That's why I was so angry at myself and just mad at myself because I would just find myself back at that behavior. And so once I would sit down there, visualizing me walking in the park, beating this thing, not taking alcoholism into my 30s, I would still go to church. I fought it. I fought going to church, but I kept going. I never stopped because I still felt like it was still a positive environment of people that genuinely cared about the church family. And so I kept going. I think I'd been in church probably, I don't know, 3 years later. It had been a while. That I'd been in church, because I like to tell this story because this is not Hollywood where somebody has an epiphany and they just quit what they're doing. It's a process. And so one day, listen to me, after just being miserable, hating what I did, even being immersed in church, I would come from church on Sundays and still, because the liquor store was right at the corner from the street where I lived at. So I'd go stop over there. It was just routine, habit. So one day I came from the church, did the routine, drove down, came into my house. I fell asleep on the couch, took a nap. And I remember it was in August of 2011. I cannot tell you the specific date. I just know the year was 2011 in August. And I got up off the couch and I went to the refrigerator where the alcohol was. And I opened the refrigerator, took all that alcohol that I bought. I opened it one by one, dumped it in the drain. I got in my car and I drove to a little ice cream spot that was about 20, 30 minutes away, purposely just for the drive. And I went there and I got me a large Doozle Sticks concrete. Out here in the Midwest, they're called concretes. And for my international listeners, it's like an ice cream mix blend. I cannot even explain it because when I lived in Southern California, we didn't have concretes. Okay. So Dairy Queen I think Dairy Queen now probably has them on their menu. So it's just a mixture of ice cream with good stuff in there. Well, good stuff for my taste, for my tongue, but probably not long term. So went there, got that concrete, and I sat there in that parking lot and enjoyed bite for bite for bite. Drove my car, came back home, got in the house, sat there, watched a little TV. Then I went to sleep. I woke up the next day. I wasn't too thrilled. I was like, okay. I was like on the fence. I woke up the next day. And I was like, okay. We went one day without drinking. I said, okay. Got dressed, went about my business, came back home, found out it was the second day. Third day. This is August, September, October, November, December. Come January, I moved from that area to about an area that was 30 minutes away. So now I had gone 5 months without a drop. Just no desire, no fiending, no shaking, no, I gotta have it. Just, because people always ask, I literally woke up from that nap, threw that crap away, and went celebrated with an ice cream, a concrete, and came home. And so, and that was it since 2011, August 2011. I never looked back, never craved, never gotta have it. Oh, I need a sip or I need a drink right now. I understand that the universe is powerful and the universe does aid with our desires, our wants. And my desire was really strong. It was. Though I hated where I was, I didn't want to see myself an alcoholic getting into the 30s, even getting into the 30s and above. I saw myself walking in the park, visualized daily, drowning myself in alcohol, but visualizing myself walking at that beautiful park with the lake. And that's what I started doing. So when I moved 30 minutes away, I would drive out to that beautiful park and walk. Guys, it was so amazing. It was so amazing. And then I celebrated my 30th birthday sober. It was so amazing, so amazing. And so understand, there is a now message, even though I was really wanting you all to just get a little background of the journey like that with life. And we are all on this amazing journey. And if I could give a now message to anyone, is no matter where you are, you might not be an addict. You might not be facing addiction, but understand that if you can visualize where you want to be, keep that image in your mind and you will be there. You will be there. Keep that image in your mind. Keep that thought in your mind and you will be there. You will be there. You will be there. The universe gives us what we desire the most, right? And it's also about surrendering to the universe. Surrendering, because we all have elements, not all. Let's say some, let's not generalize. Most times we can tend to have elements of control. But one thing I'm finding out about life is very unpredictable. Yes, we plan. Yes, we organize. But life itself as a journey is very unpredictable. And if you don't believe me, tell me about 2020. I'm just saying. But the ideal part about it is figuring out how to navigate any detour and also understanding that it's not over. It's not over. I never wrote myself as done. I never, even though in the negative, toxic behavior, I never wrote myself off. I had to have belief in myself. Seeing myself in the park was belief in myself. Seeing myself getting into my 30s sober was belief in myself. Family, we are the only people that have to be rooting for ourselves the most. All right? We have our loved ones all around us, but you are your best fan. You are your best fan. No matter where you are right now, trust me, here's one thing I wanna leave you all with is understanding this. Where you are right now, today, is not going to be where you will be next year, December 2021. With some intentionality now. Don't come back to me in 2021 and say, look, I'm still where. With some, the universe helps those that also help themselves. Is that also not what the ancient book of wisdom, and for my new listeners, the ancient book of wisdom is the Bible. Is that not what the ancient book of wisdom tells us? Folks, understand that every single thing has an ending. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. It's not a bad thing. And when I say every single thing has an ending, even that moment you're in right now that seems like there's no hope, visualize yourself where you want to be. Visualize yourself where you want to be. Visualize yourself who you want to be, how you want to be. Affirm verbally. Speak it out into the universe. I used to denounce it. Yes, I know it's the irony of life. But the universe is giving to those that desire. It's the irony of life. I'm drinking, I'm getting sloppy drunk, and I'm like, I will never. I remember that. Just my finger flailing all over the place. I was like, I will never. I used to also say I would never die an alcoholic. I would never go into my 30s. I said I'm not. I denounced it. I said I'm not going into my 30s as an alcoholic. Did I ever see how that was going to come together? No, because when I said it was scary was because like I was so deep. I was like, am I ever going to stop? Like, am I ever going to stop? I never asked myself that verbally, but I mean, it's just, I'm being really just dramatic right now. But, it was just so deep. It was so deep. I love you guys so much. Where you are today in 2020 December is not where you're going to be in 2021 December, with intentionality behind it, with a desire, visualization, and manifestation. The universe is there to give into the desires. Now, I'm not talking about toxic and, unhealthy things that are all unbalanced and unequal to the laws of the universe, right? Guys, if there's one thing that I want you to take away from today is that it will all work itself out. Remember, with intentionality, visualization, verbal affirmations. I got to leave you guys with this. Thank you so much for listening. I enjoy telling you a little bit about my story there, where that book of life came from. And then I started writing, right? So after that part, I was like, yes, you catch the time frame, right? So 2011 is when I got done, but I started penning some stuff down at the end of like 2009, 2010. And then as I lived life in sobriety, my mind was more clear and I could really focus. And not saying that people that don't drink don't do an amazing written work. I mean, hello. But love you guys that much. Stay blessed. Thank you so much for tuning in to our Spiritual Sweet Spot Saturdays. Don't give up on yourself. Life is happening right now. Not tomorrow. Not yesterday, but today. Seize the moment to enjoy each day while en route to your intended destiny. A quote by Memory Ben Gessemer. If no one has told you this today, I love you. I appreciate you. And yes, we can do this thing